Hey there, it's Melissa Brunetti, and welcome to the Mind Your Own Karma podcast. Hey there, Karma crew. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Mind Your Own Karma Beyond the Bandage. If you pressed play today, I know this about you. You've felt the weight of staying silent when your soul wanted to speak, and you're ready to break free from patterns that no longer serve you. Today's guest, Stephanie McAuliffe, knows that silence is the ultimate addiction, and boundaries are the medicine. After a 27-year career on Wall Street, Stephanie founded The Way of the Diamond Warrior, where she guides people to clear trauma stored in the body and reclaim their vitality through energy healing and personal transformation. She's also the author of 2 international bestsellers, The Impact of Silence and The Message in the Bottle. We're diving into why most boundaries don't work, how silence keeps us stuck, and how energy healing can help us step into the truth of who we are. Stephanie will even guide us through a visualization to release an old energetic pattern and fill the space with something new. It's time to rip off the bandage and dive in because this episode might just change your life. We're welcoming Stephanie McAuliffe to the show today. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi there. I'm so glad to be here with you
I
today.
know, so fun. I am so excited. Your story and perspective is just like so interesting to me. So let's just dive into some questions and explore how silence, boundaries, and healing shape the way we live. Um,
Awesome.
you had a 27-year career on Wall Street, which is so crazy before stepping into the healing world. What was the turning point that shifted your path?
My life fell apart. And I can laugh now.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy at the time. The year before my career ended, my 10-year marriage ended.
Mm,
And it was almost as if the universe was saying, "All right, we're going to leave you in this safe space of work," which was known. I wasn't happy in it, but it was known while you start to unravel this other part of your life,
mm.
your marriage. And then it was, well, all right, it's time to just rip off the Band-Aid. And I took a package. There were rifts that were coming, reduction in force, and I had tried to find another role in the organization, and it wasn't happening. So I raised my hand and said, if it helps you make your numbers, because my manager at the time needed to cut 20 people.
Wow.
And so me and 2 of my people were 3. So it was a good percentage. And we all needed to move on anyway.
Yeah.
So it was the rug was pulled out from underneath me. And all of a sudden I had all of this space. Say, all right, what do I really want to do when I grow up? And it's been a little bit of an evolution. It's been okay, a bit of an evolution since
Yeah,
then.
right. So you're a personal transformation guide and energy healer. Can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. We have been so accustomed to experiencing trauma and of swallowing what it is that we experience, especially in our formative years, that we don't realize how much the impact of the internalized energy that we carry continues to affect us.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
having grown up around, if you're familiar with the adverse childhood experiences, it's a study done back in the late 80s by Kaiser Permanente and the CDC, and they identified 10 adverse childhood experiences. I count 7.
Mm,
So, and it's like a lot of it was the invisible trauma that many of us experience,
yeah.
the psychological abuse, the emotionally unavailable people, also active functional alcoholism, and other things that we don't necessarily need to explore. And yet, when we break a bone, our parents will pay attention to that. But when our heart is broken, that's something a lot of times that's bypassed.
Mm,
And so the work that I do, because I've seen how powerful energy healing is, on top of the other work that I had done, It is clearing out those energies that we've internalized year over year. And I call them like, it's like our layer cake. And we
Hmm.
have these layers of trauma within us. And we put icing around them to try to make them go away or feel better. And it's melting that icing so we can clear out that layer of cake. So it
Yeah,
is both the what I call the practical, it is the knowing of and acknowledging what we experienced and clearing out the energy that's connected with it.
who helped you on your journey, and did you kind of make up what you do on your own just from your own healing journey, or what did that look like?
It's an alchemy. So I went to therapy off and on for years, which got me to a certain point. I went to Al Anon for quite a few years, which again got me to a certain point. And then I had this epiphany one day, and I saw in a day-long set of meetings that I went to how stuck people were in their stories.
Mm,
And that was when I made the decision to go more into energy healing and started studying Reiki. And at first, it was just to be able to do self healing. And then I went all the way up through, I'm a Holy Fire 3 Karuna Reiki master. I've also studied with world renowned mediums. Some of it is I've made up my own processes as I've been on hikes and things download to me.
yeah,
So it is a mixture of things that I've created, I've learned, and they've evolved and morphed over the years. It's
I
pretty
love
cool.
that. Yeah, I love that. You describe silence as the ultimate addiction. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Mm. When we don't speak up, we think we're safe. And we can get addicted to not speaking up. So heads down. So yesterday, for instance, I got a pedicure for the first time in, I don't know, 8 or 9 months. My feet said thank you. Almost every single woman who was sitting in a chair was buried in her phone.
Yep.
So we have been trained to not pay attention, to not ask the questions, to not speak up. And there's a difference between speaking out and speaking up. Speaking out is we can go out and protest and we can speak out about the wrongs that we see are happening. And we'll do that, yet we won't speak up for ourselves. And yet, most of the time, when we're speaking out, it's a direct connection to what we'd like to say for ourselves.
Mm.
So we automatically silence ourselves as a way to, if I don't speak up, I won't be ridiculed, I won't be questioned, I won't have somebody tell me I'm wrong. So it is this false sense of safety.
And what does that do to us when we do that? How does that affect us?
Oh, we continue to lose our connection with our own internal trust and our intuition, our knowing. Because when we don't question, is this right for me? Is this good for me? Is it really supporting me?
Mm.
We lose that connection and we lose that through trauma as well. And this is one of the ways that we can break out of an old cycle is to, rather than react in the moment, give yourself some space and sit back and say, what's really the best thing for me right now?
Mm.
Am I reacting based on an old situation, which means I'm right back there because the universe doesn't know the difference between now and yesterday and 20 years ago? Or do I want to make a decision from a space of what is truly going to support me and act in a way that is best for me, even if the other person isn't going to agree with me?
Yeah, that can be pretty scary to do.
It can be incredibly scary, especially if you were silenced when you were young, when you didn't feel like you had a voice, when you couldn't question things. And if your family still does not talk about things, nor support you or recognize some of the things that you've experienced in your life, well, first of all, stop looking to them for validation because
Yeah.
they're probably never going to give it to you. And find a safe space for you to be able to have your discussion And it might even
Yeah.
be a therapist. It might be a coach. It might be a healer. It might be a friend. I had a doctor in when I lived in New Jersey who grew up in Ukraine. And they didn't have a lot of therapists back then. So they would have benches where you could go and sit. And like someone would sit next to you and you could give a voice to what it is you needed to.
Hmm.
And they would do that on buses as well. We used to have a lot of conversations about this, and it's really pretty amazing. And they have some of this in Canada. And there's some areas in the States where you can do this. But sometimes one of the most powerful things we can do is to just give a voice to what it is that we're experiencing, what we're feeling, what we're thinking, because sometimes the simple act of saying something out loud, a lot of us are verbal thinkers.
Yeah.
So when we're silenced and not able to really articulate what it is, we just continue to just swallow those bubbles of energy.
Yeah. Let's talk about boundaries a little bit.
Mm.
Why do most boundaries not work?
Because most of the boundaries that we create or that we grew up with are rules. And rules are an attempt to control the situation around you, the person, and sometimes even your feeling. So if you think of a time, a lot of us were taught to, if someone's doing something that's pissing you off, just create separation. And that if you're no longer there, then you don't have to worry about it. But it's kind of like you're a castle with a moat around you. And think about how much energy is expended trying to defend you, yourself, your castle, and how much energy is expended from the outside trying to get in. So that is when we create a rule of, I'm never going to let this happen again. We can think of it as a boundary, but it's not, it's a rule.
Mm.
So if we're trying to control a person, place, or thing, it's a rule, and rules need to be defended, and we end up expending an incredible amount of energy defending those rules. And then it's keeping track of, do I need to keep looking over my shoulder? What did I say to whom? And it becomes this like spider web of energy that we send out that we don't even realize how much of our power and our energy we're giving away.
Do you ever feel like you're the only one struggling and feeling stuck? We all carry hidden burdens, but there's a way to find relief. Somatic mindful guided imagery can help unlock your inner peace and heal past traumas. Discover the power within. Visit somatichealingjourneys.com because everyone deserves a lighter load.
So, what would be maybe a quick something to ask ourselves to be able to define if we're, setting a boundary or a rule? What would be something we should ask ourselves?
Am I reacting? And there's a simple exercise that people can do. If you stand straight up, feet on the floor, and then say your name, is my name Melissa? And if you lean forwards, it's yes, and no is backwards. Then you can say something about, am I 842 years old? Well, your body's probably going to lean backwards. And so then when you're in the middle of a situation, step away and ask yourself a couple of yes and no questions just to gauge your energy. And then ask, am I reacting?
Mm,
And see how your body moves. Because our body will always tell us, our body is always speaking to us.
yeah,
It's up to us to listen.
yeah. It's just a different language, I think, that we're not used to speaking. And once we kind of learn that language, then it just opens up so much.
Absolutely, because this opens up our internal trust, and we're born with this.
Yeah.
I was doing energy healing when I was 18 months old, and I lost my connection to it,
Mm,
albeit temporarily for a long time, through trauma. We are conditioned to not trust our inner knowing, our intuition, our truth. And this is a simple exercise people can do to start like, oh, I can trust my body. I can trust my intuition.
Yeah. So, how can we embrace boundaries not as walls or rules, but as tools for self-empowerment?
Boundaries are like building a muscle, and they take some time. It's an exploration of why did I need to create those old rules? And sometimes it begins with a decision. And I'll give a little bit of a story. When I was still on Wall Street, I had a business partner who loved to pick fights with me
Mm,
because I was in program management. We were co-managing and running an $85 million program. She wanted nothing to do with the accountability. She wanted to do things her way. And at first, I would take the bait when she would throw it out in a meeting. And our teams would be there, senior people on our teams. And it made all of us look bad. And then I made the decision I wasn't going to take the bait anymore. And she didn't, I would just sit there and she would just continue to spew. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to have this discussion here. And so people got to see her in her true colors. And it helped to empower me of, I saw that this person wanted control. Really, it had nothing to do with me because it could have been any number of a dozen other people in the
right.
conference room across from her. So it wasn't personal. And yet I was then also able to take that I'm not going to take the bait to a family gathering during the holidays a number of months later, because after my divorce, I wanted to be with family during Christmas. Except there was one person who was known for just throwing it out on the line. And the thing is with family, who are our greatest teachers, people will do something to get you to react, which then justifies to them how they feel.
Mm,
And we can all turn into proverbial 4-year-olds. Except during that holiday, I made the decision ahead of time that I was not going to react. I was not going to take the bait. I was just gonna look at the person and just not react. And they didn't know what to do with me.
mm,
And I
yep.
actually, rather than getting pulled into their drama, I was able to enjoy my time with the other family members who were there.
Yeah. It's funny how those type of people will twist and bend and try all these different tactics to get you if, what they are used to working, used to work isn't working. And they're like, well, what's happening? And so they'll try so many other things just to get you going,
Yeah.
other tactics.
And sometimes they'll push harder. And it's
Yeah.
remembering just when you look at it as situation as if you're sitting in the balcony of a theater, you can see how people have pushed and prodded and tried to get you to react, and you may have in the past,
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not to judge ourselves afterwards, it's to take that knowledge and that wisdom and how do we want to use it moving forward.
Right. Definitely. 100%. So we were talking about, being a kid and being silenced. Many of us were raised that way just to keep the peace. How does that show up as an adult if you're still running that program back there?
So there's three primary ways that I say that we're silenced in our formative years. And the first is the authoritarian rule of do as I say, not as I do. And it gives you very little agency, it gives you very little leeway to actually express yourself. The second is the maintaining of one's status through silence. So there can be things happening in the home, but you're not allowed to talk about them, and the projection outside the home is very different.
Mm,
And so it's this questioning of what truth am I living? And then the third is many of us were taught to bypass our emotions. It's not that big a deal, you're overreacting. And so all three of those carry forward into we work for authoritarian bosses or with authoritarian people who, again, want to just rule with an iron fist. We get into situations where, in order to fit in, you're expected to keep secrets, play into the drama of a group, or even with family. You know, there's many clients that I've had where the expectation is you are going to continue to be silent about what it is that you experienced in order to be considered a member of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third, the bypassing, is all around us. Don't look back. Don't worry, be happy. You can't change the past. And while it's true that you can't change the past, you can change the energy of it.
Yeah.
So and even many of the people sitting in the salon yesterday, buried in their phone, rather than, that could be a half an hour to an hour of sitting and enjoying some peace and quiet, rather than having your central nervous system jacked up by doom scrolling.
Yeah. People can't be by themselves with themselves anymore.
No, and
It's
it's glorious. It's amazing. I couldn't either. When I was on Wall Street, I controlled every aspect of my life within an inch of its life
mm,
because control gave me that sense of safety, and I created rules about what I was doing and when I was doing it and how I was doing it and with whom.
how did you let that go?
That was the universe just ripping off the band-aids. And it's been an evolution. When I saw that day of those meetings of, and sometimes we need to find a box that gives us the parameters of, oh, I grew up around these rules, I grew up in these situations, functional alcoholism. There was a man who, in an AA meeting, told the story of his father forced him to do heroin together when he was a
Oh,
teenager,
gosh.
which is horrible. But then I led an adult children of alcoholics meeting, and he came in and told the same story. And that was the light bulb for me. So he had put himself in a box of, my father made me do drugs and I'm an addict and I'm never going to get out of this. And I was like, I don't want to live my life that way anymore.
Mm,
So it was an evolution of, what are the stories that I carried? Who are these people that I grew up around? What is the legacy? What is my karma? And what are the stories and things that I came here in this lifetime to break?
yeah. So powerful.
It's a very powerful journey, and it will bring up the emotions that we bypassed. It will make us look at our family differently when we take them off the pedestal. And it's also remembering that no is a one-word answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on your website and you seem like kind of a no nonsense type of person, which I love that. Um, how, when people come to you, how do you know what to pull out of your bag of tricks, where to start? I mean, you do Reiki and you do all these things. Do you do an intake with people? What does it look like when, they come to you?
So I work with people a couple of different ways. If someone is coming in to look at working with me in a 3-month container, we will have an exploratory call because I need to make sure that it's a good fit for both of us. Because I've had clients who didn't want to let go of their stories, who didn't want to do the work, who would not speak up for themselves.
Yep.
So it's really of like, what is the thing that you think is in the way that you've tried to move through? And let's talk about what it would mean to move through that for you. I also do individual healing sessions as well. So in a single session, we will begin a conversation again of, where do you feel stuck? What do you think is in the way? And then I start getting all these downloads.
Mm,
And part of my secret sauce is I can typically bring somebody very quickly to the source of where that comes from.
mm,
And then we clear those energies.
yeah.
And It may not clear everything in one session, and yet there's a lot of things that can be done in the course of an hour. So it is the mix again of the practical and the mystical, because it's you giving a voice to what it is that you no longer want to carry,
Mm,
which opens up a channel to the universe to help me guide you to clear those energies.
yeah. What do you tell clients about expectations?
If you don't want to let go of a story, it doesn't matter how much work we do together. There are times where spirit will tell me to tell the person, I let go of these energies.
Mm,
You have to be willing to explore and let go and sometimes feel some things that are uncomfortable. And the thing to remember is you've spent a lot of time and energy pushing down the thing that you have not wanted to feel. And probably more than you will feel feeling it.
mm,
So, yes, there will be some uncomfortable moments. And that's okay because once we feel them, we can let them go. And we're not holding on to that layer of cake anymore.
yeah. How can we begin to break old patterns of silence and start speaking authentically?
One of the things that I have clients do is draw out your family tree and put an adjective next to each person and start to explore what each person, and so siblings, maybe even aunts, uncles, and then grandparents, is a good start. And you might start to see patterns of many of the women in my family didn't have agency and didn't speak up about the things that they knew were happening within the home. And were fearful of the people that they were married to. There's a long line of alcoholism in my family and anger and repressed emotions. So and passive aggressive behavior and the bypassing. So actually all three of those formative, authoritarian, the family secrets and the bypassing all fit into my family tree. When you start to see from an objective perspective the people that are in your bloodline, and even if you were adopted, because my dad was adopted,
I was
and yet,
adopted.
and he was also raised. His father was very patient, very kind, and his mother had mental illness.
Mm,
And he married my mother, who had mental illness. So we can start to see some of the patterns and what I call the illuminated breadcrumbs of, oh, there's alcoholism and anger and alcoholism and anger and more and you start to see from a perspective of empathy
yeah.
rather than judgment.
Hmm.
And when we step into empathy, we can let go of some of the feeling like things happened to us. And many times people were acting out of their own unresolved trauma and pain.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean what you experienced doesn't hurt. It doesn't mean it didn't affect you. Yet, when we can sit in empathy rather than judgment, it allows us to begin to let go of what you've carried.
Yeah. When you can make that shift, it's huge.
And it's a
It,
choice.
yep.
It's really a question of, we have free will. And I think that's part of our karma as well. Do you want to hold on to the story or do you want to heal it and transcend it?
Hmm.
And we all have a choice, and we have multiple choices every single day about whether we want to react or act.
Yeah. You said energy work completed the sentence. Can you share what you mean by that?
Completing the sentence is meant to be a metaphor. When I held on to my stories, it was as if I was a caged bird. And so when I stepped into energy healing and worked with healers and then did my own work, and I continue to, I did some psychic surgery on a walk this morning for myself. So there's always layers. Energy work completed the sentence is I am choosing to no longer be held down by that old story and to open up the jail gate and walk through it.
Yeah. Because you do have the key.
Well, we do, absolutely. And do we want to stay in that box? Or do I want to get what I needed out of that box and then say, all right, I'm ready to open up that door?
Yeah. And that's scary. Sometimes stepping out of that cage, you don't know what's on the other side.
Oh my goodness. Well, and even me with my world falling apart 10 years ago, a little longer than that, but it's when you've been in something for so long and you don't know anything else, it can be scary. And yet, I say, do you want to stay in the hell that you know?
Mm-hmm. You
Or
can. You can.
absolutely, that goes to our free will. We can, absolutely. We have a choice every single day. I
Yeah.
think there's something like we make over 30,000 decisions every single day.
Trees.
And sometimes it's whether I want 4 or 5 drops of stevia in my coffee this morning because I wanted a little sweeter than I did yesterday. Not all of these decisions and choices are big. And yet, when we say yes to the universe, it will start to open up what the next step is. We
Yeah.
don't have to know where, if you had told me when I was working on Wall Street that I would be doing what I'm doing now, I would have told you were effing nuts.
Right.
And yet it has been an evolution. And it's been amazing.
Hi, I'm Melissa Brunetti, and I'm a somatic mindful guided imagery practitioner who uses a combination of hypnotherapy, meditation, guided imagery, and inner journey work to help guide you to create a life of peace, prosperity, and power. SMGI helps you discover through your subconscious mind where you are now, where you want to be, and easily and efficiently guides you to the answers of how to accomplish it. Whatever your goals, professional, health and healing, or just coming home to yourself, it's all possible with SMGI. A good referral for me is someone who is ready to invest in their growth, whether personally or professionally, and is actively seeking the keys to that winning combination. Someone that has tried other modalities and finding those avenues just aren't getting them the results that they're seeking. Someone open and curious about what's possible with SMGI. And if that's you, I'd love the opportunity to show you the innate power that you possess through your subconscious mind. As someone who literally started experiencing trauma before I was even born, due to the complexities of being adopted, I have intimate knowledge of how unhealed trauma can affect your mind, body, and spirit, how it can cause chronic body pain, anxiety, an overwhelming sense of hopelessness, and a loss of self. Living with unhealed trauma can keep you from living the life you desire and deserve. I have a passion to help anyone affected and struggling with trauma experience quick, easy, and profound healing with SMGI. Somatic mindful guided imagery isn't just a healing modality. It can be used in growing your business or career as well. I personally have used SMGI to help grow my podcast, Mind Your Own Karma. And after using some of the techniques I learned, I was able to grow my listening audience by 40% in 3 short weeks. And my numbers continue to climb to this day. I'm amazed at the results, and I can help you do the same. If you or someone you know is tired of reliving what you aren't releasing, and you feel stuck or powerless in your personal or professional life, I can help you find direction and clarity. Visit me at my website, somatichealingjourneys.com, where you can satisfy any curiosities you have about myself, SMGI, and can see what others are experiencing in their sessions with me. Lastly, what I want you to know is you already possess the power to create a life that you love. You don't need a hero to save you. The hero is already inside of you. Let me help you discover your innate capacity to live a powerful, purposeful, and peaceful life. And just remember, you are only one decision away from a totally different life. I hope to work with you soon. You've also said there is no story that can't be healed. Want to talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. No matter how traumatic something is that you may have experienced, you still have the choice every single day of, do I want to continue to hold on to darkness within my heart, or do I want to begin to heal it? I walked around with a lot of anger for a lot of years. And through that anger, I did a lot of damage to myself.
Mm.
And I finally got to the point of, I don't want to do this anymore. So it's choosing to say, and Brene Brown has a great quote of something along the lines of, when you own your story no longer owns you.
Mm.
We get to choose to own it. And after the healing process, instead of walking around with wounds like I did for many, many years, we get to step out of that box and create wisdom from our scars.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why we go through stuff, is so we can
Hmm.
learn from it and help the next person along, you know?
And hopefully quicker than
Yeah.
we took,
Mhm.
because, and that's part of the reason why I do what I do,
Yeah.
because I've learned a lot along the way. And there are times where, one session or a couple of months, it's amazing the transformation that can happen when you have someone guiding you who has been through the ringer.
Yeah. I think too, hearing if someone's been through it, that validation and kind of the giving of hope that I can get through it. You did it. You're going to help me do it.
Hmm.
So I can do it. That's that's awesome.
Well, and this is, I'm sorry, it's not just all mindset and affirmations, which can be really good
Yeah.
and many times keep you stuck in that box.
Hmm. Yeah. Or you think you should be moving and you're not.
Right.
Why is this not working? This is supposed
And
to work.
and that's why energy work completes the sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many modalities out there, and I always say, my listeners have heard me say 1,000 times, everyone's healing combination's different, and your
Hmm.
numbers might change, you know, and that's okay. You're going through the journey, you're going through the process, you're
Yeah.
learning more about yourself, being curious about what's out there and what's possible.
And we're not meant to just work with one person. I lived in Utah for a number of years before I moved to Texas to care for my dad. And there was a woman who ran a yoga studio, and she'd been working with her spiritual advisor for 8 or 9 years and talked with the person every single week and wouldn't do anything that he didn't tell her was okay to do.
Mm,
I'm like, I don't want to be that dependent on someone, and I don't want someone to be dependent like that on me,
yeah,
because that's not healthy.
yeah,
That's toxic codependency. And too many of us are trying to move out of that crap from childhood to not perpetuate it as adults. We are
yeah,
meant to work with different people because they're going to bring different gifts based on where you are in your journey.
yeah. So if listeners are new to energy healing, what could they expect at a session?
as I had said, it's the exploration of where do you feel like you're stuck? Like, what's the situation? Who are the people? And then when we're doing energy healing in and of itself, I can feel where the blocks are in someone's body. When the energy is being moved, they many times will feel the lessening of a tightening of a knot in their stomach. They may feel the counter, when we're clearing, it's typically in a counterclockwise motion. So they'll feel the movement. They may feel, sometimes there's somatic movement. So it's almost like a jolt in their abdomen. Sometimes it's just a feeling of ease, like
Mm.
no longer carrying that bag of rocks. So as people go deeper into it, they'll begin to feel more just like me as a healer. Initially, when I started, doing this, I didn't always feel the movement like I do now.
Mm.
So it may not be like standing on the mountaintop and being hit by a bolt of lightning. It may be you feel calmer after a session.
Does anyone ever leave more heightened because things have gotten stirred up?
Mm, it's a good question. It's no one has ever expressed that because I'm always grounding the person. I'm bringing them. We're as the energy is cleared, the spaces created are also filled with healing light
Hmm.
because the universe doesn't like a vacuum, and we don't want. Well, I process the energies that are cleared in a way so there's no further attachment to them, which is very important, and a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah.
Very important to be very diligent with the energy that we're working with.
Hmm.
And yet they're grounded, they're calmer, filling the spaces with healing light. So I've actually never had someone leave where they felt more heightened. They may have more energy because they're not carrying the old,
Yeah.
but it's a different energy. It's not agitation.
Could you walk us through a guided visualization that you've prepared for us?
Absolutely. So this ties into the three formative patterns that many of us grew up around: the authoritarian, the keeping of family secrets, and the bypassing. And so I will ask the listeners to not do this while you're driving or operating any
Yeah.
heavy machinery or like cutting vegetables in the kitchen. Just find a quiet place to sit and put your feet on the floor and take a couple of slow, deep breaths and close your eyes and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And two more times. It doesn't have to be any specific count. It's sinking deeper into the chair in which you're sitting. And now, in your mind's eye, see three swords standing vertically in front of you. And you don't have to remember which sword represents what. Your higher self and intuition will guide you. But the first sword represents that command and control. The second is the family secrets. And the third is bypassing. And when you look at the three swords, one of them will move towards you, and the other two will fade into the background. And the sword that is in front of you is the pattern that you're being asked to look at. And behind that sword stands in front of you someone from the heritage from which you took on this pattern. Remember that you are safe. and it's just an image of the person in front of you. See yourself pick up the sword and hold it in your hands. And while you hold it, where in your body do you feel movement? It may be a shift or a tingling or some tightness. This is where you've energetically held this pattern within your body. And you were receiving energy healing while we were going through this as well. And now with the sword, see yourself cut the energetic ties between yourself and the generation that stands before you. You are cutting the ties to the pattern you took on and wish to move beyond. And as you cut through the cords, you may feel more movement within your body. And as the cords are cut, you're also receiving the energy healing to help clear the remnants on your side. Cutting these energetic ties frees you to move forward differently. You can thank your ancestor for sharing their wisdom and see them fade into the background. And in this next moment, you can sit quietly and allow the energies to continue to clear from your body. And you may feel more movement or an unwinding as this happens. And now feel the infusion of golden healing light flow through you down from your crown, your shoulders, down your arms to your hands, down your torso to your hips, your legs, and down to your feet, to fill the spaces that were created with this energetic clearing. If you are working with the first sword, allow yourself to be filled with trust. If you are working with the second, allow yourself to be filled with ease. And if you are working with the third, allow yourself to be filled with connection. You are now free to move forward differently in your own space with the wisdom that has been passed down to you. Take a few slow, deep breaths. Wiggle your toes as you open your eyes and come back to the room that you're in. And then make a note of the sword that came to you.
When you said that's for the sword to come forward, it had already come forward. It was already
Okay.
like, I was like, oh, that's weird because it already did.
Yeah. And so the first was the authoritarian rule, do as I say, not as I do. The second is the keeping of family secrets. And the third is the bypassing.
Yeah. Yeah. Mine was the second. And the person that was on the other side of the sword was my birth mother.
Hmm.
Because we've had some interesting dynamics there. So, and what I cut was like the umbilical cord.
Ooh, powerful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how do you feel?
Good. I felt it in my throat. It was really tight, like in my lower throat. Um, and then it dissolved and then it kind of started to come back at the end a little bit, but now I don't feel it anymore. So,
Nice. And when we're silenced, we do carry a lot of energy
well, it's
in our
pre-verbal
throat.
trauma,
Yeah.
pre-verbal, trauma, that separation. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's where that was coming from. But it's interesting to just let your body talk to you because it
Mm-hmm.
says a lot, you know.
Yeah. We don't have to, sometimes we just don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
It will
Just
always
listen. Just listen.
listen and allow yourself to feel it.
Hmm.
Because with the bypassing, We've been taught to disassociate. We've been taught to not feel. So when we allow when you're in a current situation, feelings that come up can typically be processed in a minute or two when you allow them to. It's when we suppress them that they stay with us for as long until we finally do something with them.
Yeah.
There was a time when we knew how to heal ourselves. Western medicine has its place, but they've made us forget our own power. With somatic mindful guided imagery, you can discover how to reconnect, restore, and heal from within. Take control of your healing journey. The power is already inside of you. SomaticHealingJourneys.com.
I want to go back and talk about boundaries a little bit. How can someone recognize if the boundaries they've set are rooted in fear versus an authentic space?
Oh, what I call the seven-letter C word, which is control. Are you trying to control something? Are you trying to control your own emotions?
Mm. And if you answer yes, what's the next step?
Step back and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Look at
Mm.
your family tree. Look at the dynamics you grew up in. Look at the people who are still around you. Because if you are still trying to get validation from the people who never gave it to you, you will continue to repeat the old cycles of being silenced and of trying to convince somebody to hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be frustrating.
Yep.
Lord knows, been there. And,
Yep.
sometimes we have to energetically divorce ourselves from our family
Yeah.
because it's what I call detachment with love. We can still care for them, we can still want the best for them, and have very little to do with them emotionally because we know it's going to trigger us. We know it's going to bring up old feelings, and it's an opportunity to heal those old feelings so that you can actually get to a space of neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a conversation with the person. You can even talk about some of the things that happened, and you're no longer triggered. And when you're no longer triggered, that is a hallelujah because you're not carrying that energy anymore. And it's not about bypassing, it's not about mind over matter. It is you have healed it and you no longer carry it. And that is a triumph.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think getting to that space is allowing that person to get away with whatever it was that they did. Um,
Mm,
but it's so freeing though to get to that space of being able to release them, because people are always showing you who they are. And if you're
always.
sitting there expecting them to change at some point, I mean, probably 99.9 of the time they're not going to. So, what do you do with that? If you're not going to get that apology, you're not going to get seen or heard. It's like you've got to figure out a way to let that go and have it be,
It,
and have it feel peaceful. Not that it, like you said earlier, it's not that it's okay what they did, whatever it was, but for your own healing process and journey, there are ways to be able to release that.
oh, absolutely. And this is bringing up all kinds of rabbit holes we could go down. But one of the phrases I say is acceptance doesn't mean agreement.
Hmm.
We do not have to agree with what somebody did.
Yeah.
But acceptance allows us to let go of that dark energy from within your heart.
Yeah.
And I actually just wrote a blog post that's up on my website. It's the latest one, When There's Nothing Left to Grieve.
Mm.
My mother passed away a couple of weeks ago,
Oh.
and I did all of the grieving for many, many, many years. And then she had a short illness, and I grieved a lot during that. And then it was, there's nothing left. I don't agree with many things that happened. I also see the dynamics. I've pulled it apart 6 ways to Sunday, and at some point, it is standing in your own power because you're not going to continue to give your power to this person or to the story between the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
So we're yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the statement of, feeling like we're letting them get away with something. It's already done.
Yeah.
And unless they're in jail, you're never going to be able to move someone beyond their own internalized shame. So rather than trying to convince them to say, I'm sorry, which is something I never heard from my mother. I'm sorry that happened to you. I had to say it to myself and to my younger self, my 3-year-old self,
Yeah.
who was tormented.
Yeah.
Sometimes we will never get the apology.
Nope.
And this is why it's so important to do work with your younger self. Take her out on a walk, take her on a picnic, go have that bologna and cheese sandwich on white bread with Cheetos and orange soda and chocolate chip cookies. Like go play with your younger self, go out on a date, give her time and space, let her write a letter that will never be sent, give her a voice, or him. Give
Yeah.
them a voice.
Mm-hmm.
So you are hearing younger aspects of yourself, and that's a big part of the healing journey as well.
Yeah. And you may have already answered this question in what you just said, but what's
Mm.
one first step listeners can take to begin reclaiming their authentic voice?
Draw out your family tree. So we've gotten parts of it. Draw out the family tree, and when you see the dynamics of your family, you may see that there was never a space that was given to anyone, let alone you, to ask questions, express what it is that you were feeling, question some of the BS that you may have seen. And it's finding a space where it is safe to explore these things. And it's not that you want someone to just tell you what it is that you want to hear. It is really one of being able to explore some of the questions that you may never have been able to answer
Mm-hmm.
with someone who will have an honest conversation with you and also sometimes call you on your BS
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
loving way.
So where can listeners find you?
The best is my website, which is wayofthediamondwarrior.com. And from there, there's talks, there's blogs, there's courses that reach out, connect to social via there.
Yeah.
So wayofthediamondwarrior.com.
Awesome. It's a great website. So make sure you plan to have about at least 30 minutes to be looking at all of the offerings and
Thank
reading
you.
everything on there. I loved it.
Yeah. I openly share a lot of my story
Yeah.
because it was by seeing and hearing other people sharing theirs gave me the strength to look at my own.
Yeah.
Ram Dass said it perfectly. We are all walking each other home.
I love that. Well, thank you for turning your pain into a passion that's helping others. And I wish you all the best in your endeavors and the continuing journey of healing and learning and growing.
Thank you. I love doing this work, and this was a lot of fun today. Thank you.
As you step back into your life after this conversation, consider this. Where have you mistaken silence for peace or boundaries for walls? Your awareness is the first shift. All of Stephanie's links are in the show notes so you can connect with her and learn more about the way of the Diamond Warrior. And hey, if you're listening and thinking about how the patterns you carry live in your body, this is exactly where somatic mindful guided imagery comes in. SMGI helps you access and shift the root causes of these patterns, whether they come from childhood, family dynamics, or even further back. You can learn more at somatichealingjourneys.com. And if you're interested in being a guest on the show, email me at mindyourownkarma@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening today, Karma Crew. And as always, take what you need and leave what you don't. And always remember to mind your own karma. I'll see you next time.